The Spurs were led by Stephon Castle, who crossed the 30-point mark, and rookie Dylan Harper, who had the most points by a Spurs rookie in a playoff game since Tim Duncan. For the Blazers, Jrue Holiday had a big night, but not quite big enough to get the dub. Here's Castle after the game. Antonio, and history is on their side after the win because the Spurs are 21-7 all-time in best-of-7 series when leading 2-1. Game 4 is Sunday. So the Spurs turned things around with a dominant second half, outscoring the Blazers by 18 over the third and fourth quarter. What changed for them, DC?
I think it was the play of Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper, right? You know, we always talk about playoffs, you make a name for yourself. And I think this was Stephon Castle's coming out party. We know a lot of these teams' number one options are going to struggle because of the amount of attention they're going to get. For obviously the San Antonio Spurs, Wemby is being out, so somebody had to step up, right? And Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper did just that.
For me personally, man, obviously, you know, Dylan Harper and Castle did their thing, but, you know, we've been shouting out the coaches all day. Got to shout out the coach, man. He coached them up, man, especially in that third quarter when they got down 12, 14 points. The boys was battle tested. Obviously, this is their first playoff run together, so I think it's kind of, you know, just great to see these guys step up in this moment and then have big games. Obviously, in the playoffs, it's going to be pressure moments. It's going to be times where you get down, but that's where the good teams, you know, step up and, you know, prevail. So it's kind of good to see this team go through a few highs and lows early in this playoff run and then get this dub on the road.
Yeah, to me, it's impressive the amount of limited playoff experience that this team has, but yet they seem like they're playing like they have a ton of experience, right? And shout out to De'Aaron Fox, right? He's a guy that we know he can turn up and contribute, right? But he takes a step back. He allows the younger players to kind of, you know, set the table a little bit. And, you know, you need a player like De'Aaron Fox, right? He still contributed 18 points, but when you see your guys like Stephon Castle rolling, Dylan Harper rolling, you let him go, and that's what a true vet does. Yeah,
let's talk about Dylan Harper there. Rookie on a big stage, didn't show any fear. What was most impressive about his performance, Bobby?
Fed up. Sometimes the game is, you know, moving so fast for you, but he's just super polished, bro. Gets to his spot, can't speed him up, plays both sides of the ball. And then he's just a super competitor. I think as an NBA player in the playoffs, you need to have as many competitors on your team as you can so your team can, you know, have the best chance of winning every night.
I see you dissecting that box score, DC.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the box score. Young fella had 10 rebounds.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, right? So, like, you're showing that you're impacting the game in different ways, not just what you're scoring, but 10 rebounds. And what I love about young fellas play is the one turnover. Yeah. Right? And
protecting the ball.
Yes, in postseason play, if you can limit turnover, especially being for that young, that tells you a lot about his future. It's going to be very bright.
Of course, the big headline coming into this game, the will it or won't he, Wemby did work out, but he was held out ultimately. How important is it to get him back and in rhythm?
I think it's important, but, you know, one game shouldn't get him out of rust, right? I think he should be fine next game, ready to go. But this is encouraging. If you're a San Antonio Spurs fan and Wemby's not playing, who's one of the best players in the world, but then yet you have your other young core step up to the plate to perform at a high level, this is encouraging for all the Spurs fans. But, you know, I wanted to give another credit to the other young player, Carter Bryant. You know, Carter Bryant only played 22 minutes. He didn't score a lot, but he did a great job on Denny, you know, defensively. He's a guy that can really muck up the game. So he's another young core that they can build around.
And also just, you know, for all the guys that's in the locker room that didn't play with Wemby tonight, once you, like, get a win without your star in the playoffs, that does something for your confidence.
For sure, absolutely.
So going into Game 4, I think everybody coming in super confident, even if Wemby don't play, because they got a chance to experience it without him, get the win, and get to sleep on it tonight. So they're going to come out super confident on Sunday. I'm excited for it.
And a come-from-behind win at that, a tough one. All right, let's get to the podium. Coach Mitch Johnson just sat down.
What would you say sort of flipped the game for you guys in the third quarter, fourth quarter?
You know, I don't know if something flipped the game. I think we worked the game. I think we just stayed with it. They came out with tremendous energy. They made some shots. We missed some shots. You know, obviously there's some game plan stuff that we wanted to be sharp on. We turned the ball over a little bit. They got some stuff in transition. But I think all in all, when you zoom all the way out, I thought we kept working the game. And I thought, you know, over the duration of it, we just stayed with it. We started getting incremental things that were going our way, whether we were starting to get a little bit more downhill offensively, the spacing got better, we started passing the ball to the open guy and letting the ball breathe a little bit and keep moving side to side. And then we stayed with some of the defensive effort, and they missed a couple shots, maybe make or miss, but we cleaned it up with some rebounds, and I thought that really helped finish the possessions defensively and then flow offensively into some pace.
Mitch, we've seen stretches like that from Dillon throughout this season, but what can you say about him, the way he put all that together at a moment when you really needed that contribution from him?
Yeah, I mean, he got on a run there, obviously, as the box score states, but, the 10 rebounds, the 3 assists, and even the 4 fouls. This is a physical game, and so we had some really, really good side-out fouls. We had some really, really good matching physicality and making sure we have proper resistance. One thing I think we felt in these 3 games, that physicality piece is going to be showing itself in a lot more ways and a lot more consistently than we've experienced in the regular season. And so to be able to match that, to set a tone and to get into a rhythm defensively, I thought he did a really good job. And then, the talent pops off, but it's funny how sometimes when you take care of the fundamentals and the easy, not the easy stuff, but the simple stuff, then the really talented people can take over games, and he did that for a stretch.
Mitch, Carter in the late third quarter, it seemed like you were just having him run delay, and they were just completely sitting off of him. He was not taking any shots, and it seemed like the offense was kind of like gunked up. And then he finally took that step back on Rob Williams, and it's like the entire game changed with that shot, and his defense on Avdia locked him up. It kind of freed up the whole offense. Can you just explain your strategy for why you wanted to put the ball in his hands in that situation and how he broke through that and kind of changed the game?
We tried to really emphasize our spacing. They pressure so much and so well, and I felt like the first 2 games we had some missed opportunities. Some of it was we didn't pass the open guy, but sometimes when that guy tried to attack off the bounce, we weren't in proper spaces to let the guy with the basketball in their hands deliver the basketball to someone on the perimeter. And so with their drop bigs, who do such a great job of protecting the rim, we tried to use that space to our advantage a little bit. Sometimes it was Luke, but sometimes it was Carter. And he did a really good job of just not settling. He could have took some of those shots, but we wanted to continue to make them work. And obviously, when a team pressures to the level that they do, typically over time, and they have some really good possessions, but typically over time, every 6 seconds or so, that pressure dissipates a little bit if you can move the ball side to side, touch the paint, continue to have continuous actions with proper spacing and pace to them. And I thought he did a really good job of that. Obviously, Dillon's box score is loud, but I thought Carter's game was probably just as loud as Dillon's, just probably doesn't have the reflection in the box score. But I thought those 2 young kids, they just played so aggressive and so fast today and really set a tone for us in terms of being in attack mode in a lot of different ways.
He's guarding Avdia, the guy who draws a ton of fouls. And as a rookie, you get called for a lot of fouls usually, right? How did he survive that and thrive in that scenario when a lot of rookies will hold him?
I think you got to start with initial resistance. Again, in the playoffs, that we felt that physicality is going to be a part of it. So if you can be in the right starting spot and have appropriate physicality, then it's about trying to maintain your position and show your hands and don't get caught, so to speak, with your hands in the cookie jar or, getting hooked with your arms and whatnot. And I thought he did a really good job of that.
There was a time in the regular season you told us.
Tiago, what changed for your guys' offense, and just how would you describe, what happened there in the second half?
They were the most physical team in the second half. They played better and made shots. I think Harper and Castle were unbelievable. Play a very good game. Getting to the line, shooting threes, being physical on defense, rebounding, pushing DC around. All of them. They were more physical than us. And rebounding 50-50 balls. That was the game. And they shot better.
Tiago, what about their small lineup gave you guys so much trouble? I know you mentioned the physicality, but when they took Cornette out, they really went on that run. What gave you trouble there?
Well, I think they were driving and kicking. Made shots, honestly. We tried to get to the rim. We were not efficient. Not our best night.
We're going to go there, watch film again. What can we do better? How can we get our tendencies and our organization better? And we go from there.
Tiago, during the fourth quarter when the Spurs were going on a run, did you consider calling a timeout just in essence to kind of try and stop the bleeding there?
Yeah, I mean, I called timeout, but then I have 2-1 left for the whole quarter. I mean, at the end of the day, you try to, think